This is part one of a two-part podcast.
Hi, this is Mark. There are a lot of reasons to get angry these days, but I prefer to focus on the positive things that we each can do to make this world a better place. The book, Building a Better World in Your Backyard, Instead of Being Angry at Bad Guys, is a great resource for just that. Instead of throwing my arms up in frustration at governments or big corporations, there's a list of ideas that we each can tackle to affect change. Information about this book and other resources can be found at Permies.com.
It says, it says stream is live. I guess we're doing this. All right. So today we're going to talk, so Suze foolishly parted with actual money that could be spent on delightful things like pizza. And instead she gave it to me to be like, I want to ask you questions. And so far my understanding is that, she wants to talk about how she's urban. Right? Is urban the right word? You are in a city, inside a pretty good sized city. And, there's been comedy with your plumbing and you want to, see if I have any thoughts about your plumbing. Something like that. Am I close?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I live in an urban homestead, I would say, a community, and we try to go for holistic permaculture principles, and we're artists and musicians, and so we live in an urban area. Sometimes I joke that we're in denial about living in an urban area, like we're pretending we're living off grid, but we're really on the grid. But we have a lot of permaculture and off grid systems in place, and we've had some comedy. I like the verbiage around that, comedy with our plumbing, yes. Very old plumbing and needs a upgrade. So I'm curious to pick your brain about it.
And I think specifically the idea is that there's plumbing in the house, and the design is that all of your plumbing, whatever water or whatever you don't want goes into tubes going under the building and away. And it goes to visit people at the sewage treatment plant, but that's up to them. I mean, they could do other things with it if they want.
Well, it doesn't go away. I mean, that's the crazy thing. There's no way.
That's the design. The design is that it goes away.
Well, it's it is a septic system, so the waste, away, but still on site. Like, it's not going out to a sewage treatment facility. It's here.
Oh, so you're in a city, but you're using it's a septic tank with a drain field.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's old. I mean, my house was built in 1924, and it actually is on a cesspool. It's called a cesspool, and it has not been updated. We never connected to the city sewer system, which, actually a bunch of houses in this neighborhood and in the city have not been connected. And that was kind of one of the conditions when I purchased this house is not on the grid, so to speak, in terms of the city sewage. We get water coming in, but whatever goes out is going into a cesspool, which is under a concrete slab on the north side of our house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Exciting.
So now, what has happened is that the exit pipes that go to the cesspool are not working as well as you had always hoped that they would. And somewhere is screwing things up. Okay. All right. And you're thinking like, well, some people that are not you, they would be like, it's time to get connected to the sewage system for the city. but you're thinking like, I want to leverage this opportunity to do something that's more permaculture aligned. And then you kind of got the weird idea to involve me in this. and of course, I have some very strong philosophies in this space because I feel like sewage treatment plants, which are supposed to be the very best that we have for a city, they still put a lot of yuckiness into our rivers and oceans. And it's like, yeah. So, and at the same time, there's stuff that's like composting toilets and similar things down that road that some people do, and those are outlawed by a lot of cities and counties, and it's because of good reason. It's not like the design of the system is very good. Like the design of these composting toilets and whatever, they're very good, but for many of them, the implementation falls short. And so it turns out to be that the sewage treatment plant is considered to be like, oh, this is great because the way that we do it, people don't get sick, except the fact that we pollute rivers and oceans, which we're okay with, apparently. And from a permaculture perspective, it's like, okay, I want to have something where people don't get sick and I don't pollute the rivers and oceans. Now, a lot of the composting toilet kind of stuff, it turns out the implementations sometimes make people sick. And so it's kind of like, well, that didn't really work out great. And so many years ago, I developed what I call the Willow Feeders system. And I think that it's better than a sewage treatment plant. And we're starting to share our knowledge of this because we've gotten to the point where we think that the system is rock solid enough that it's time to share it. So, of course, that is going to be what I advocate for is the Willow Feeder system. So now, we have Willow Feeders indoors and outdoors. And now you have some acres. And by acres, I mean like maybe a half an acre?
It's closer, I think, a little over a quarter. So it's like a third. It's a third of an acre. Oh, I thought there was like a little scale. Oh, it must have gotten cropped when the let me see something. It must have gotten cropped when the image came up.
All right. A standard city lot is about a quarter of an acre, and a lot of that quarter of an acre is taken up with a house.
Okay, so it's 10,000 square feet. Because I have a double lot here.
Okay. 10,000 square feet sounds to me like about a quarter of an acre, which is a standard lot. But okay, maybe it is. Oh. Maybe there are lots that are even smaller. And so in your city, but okay, 10,000 square feet. So you've got this lot, and it's kind of got a backyard, and you're thinking my backyard is big, and it's like compared to others, having any backyard at all is indeed big. And so you're kind of thinking to yourself like, and now let's talk a little bit about like if you were to, because you're tempted to build something inside, and you're simultaneously tempted to build something outside. And
I think the idea is to do both, and just what the most practical priority is, given the fact that our existing system is failing or showing signs of failing. Is it even practical to consider an inside solution with the space that I have, or does it make more sense to focus on an outhouse type setup? That's like one of my questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the problem that you're having with your current system is that, like a sink is draining fine, but the toilet.
That's actually not. No, that's not it. I meant stop. We had an event 2 months ago while I was out of town. Ironically, the basement started backing up with sewage. So the main pipe that goes through the floor of the basement, and it's like it's the end of the line, the last pipe that goes to the cesspool system has a little, like overflow valve, like an air thing. And it just started, like sewage started coming out, like black water and other stuff apparently. And like I said, I was out of town, so my community member and housemate had to deal with it, which I felt very badly about. But, yeah, that was like kind of the emergency, so it was just kind of like all of the stuff started coming out of at the basement. So it wasn't really like even a draining problem. Like it was like, oh, our sinks are backed up or something, or our toilet isn't flushing properly. It was more like just it wasn't out of nowhere, but it was a kind of sudden thing where all of a sudden the basement started filling up. Well, not filling up, but there was black water and material coming out of that pipe in the basement.
Okay.
And the plumber. So the plumbers came and they routed out and they did a quick fix thing. They routed out the stuff and then they did a scope down there, and that's where they saw that there was the inlet pipe that goes to the cesspool was severely cracked. So they did a Band-Aid and said, this will probably be good for 6 months to a year, but you're going to have to get this fixed or connect to the city. And that was where we kind of left it. And since then we haven't been using any toilet paper in our toilets, and try to be more mindful about what gets flushed just to prevent the clog from happening again sooner. But, again, this is where we're at with that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to propose a thing, and then you're going to tell me how that thing is stupid. All right?
Sounds good.
Okay. So I want you to, and so I'm going to say a whole bunch of different things, and I want to get to the end before you tell me it's stupid.
Okay.
So
perfect.
All right.
I'm all ears.
I want you to dig a hole in your backyard that is something on the order of about I'm gonna say 6 feet deep and 6 feet across, and I want you to fill it up with wood chips, and then I want you to plant a couple of willow trees on either side of it, and then I want to get the plumbing in your house routed over to this. So this is called a mulch pit. And I want to get the plumbing routed over to it. There's a way that I want the plumbing to arrive to the mulch pit, and we could talk about that later if we remember to. And the idea is that this is going to be where all your gray water goes. And then inside you'll have a willow feeder that'll have a urine diverter, and the urine diverter will feed to the mulch pit. But the can that collects all the willow candy does not go to the mulch pit. But everything else in the house is routed to go to the mulch pit. Now, the cool, fun thing about that is that first of all, nothing with pathogens goes to the mulch pit, and so it's pretty safe in that respect. The big thing is it's like, okay, we want to make sure that none of this material is ending up in the groundwater. And it's kind of like, well, with your cesspool, or if you had a standard septic tank, then there would be parts of it that would be going out to the drain field, and the drain field would be 18 inches below the soil surface, and the bacteria are going to do a pretty good job of cleaning that up. But they don't do a perfect job, which is why cities and towns create a sewage treatment plant, and they require everybody to get on it, because that way you have less poop Kool-Aid going to the groundwater. And so so currently your system has some degree of poop Kool-Aid going to the groundwater. And so now with all of these wood chips and these willow trees, what's going to happen is that during the spring and the summer, any gray water that comes through because there's zero poop Kool-Aid coming out to the mulch pit now, because we're processing that a completely different way. But there's still stuff that's coming out there, and it's kind of like, all right, whatever it is that does make, there's a mulch pit right there. There's an image. And so can we zoom in on that a little bit, Andreas? And so then anything that goes out there is kind of like it's going to be treated a lot like as if it were going out to a drain field. So you still have all those bacteria trying to polish it, but they have less work to do. It's easier for them. And then if there's any nutrient that you want to not go to the groundwater, it kind of gets stuck to the high carbon wood chips. However, the willow trees, once they get their roots in there, they're going to effectively polish all of those wood chips during the spring and summer. And then during the cold months, they're still going to be eating most of that, but they're going to be doing about half as much. They're somewhat dormant in the winter, but they're still active at polishing those wood chips. But if there's anything that they miss, it gets locked up by the wood chips. Then when the willow tree comes back out of dormancy, it's going to resume polishing. And in fact, it's going to consume a whole bunch of stuff that accumulated over the winter that it may have missed. And so basically the idea is that what goes to the groundwater is maybe 1% of what you're currently sending to the groundwater. It's much, much less. All right. So there's that. Then the next thing is that you're going to have this can inside of your building, and you'll need to have a urine diverter in it that routes to this mulch pit. And at the same time, we need to vent the box that the can sits in. We need to vent it to the outside. And let's just pretend for the moment that it's hooked up to electricity and it just uses this 2 watts or something like that to carry air out of the box to outside through a vent in the roof or something. Let's just pretend that that's what's going on. And so now all the people in the house will use this can. And how many people on average do you think there are in the house?
5.
5 people. All right. I would guess that's going to fill about 4 cans per year, maybe less, but let's just say it's 4. And so then that means that outside you would need to have a place to store, let's say, 10 cans. And so when it gets to be something around like mid to late spring, then take each of the cans that are older than 2 years old, and then you're going to take the material out of those cans and spread it out in the drip line of the willow tree, but probably not the mulch pit, but, around the willow tree. And then when you're done doing that, you'll put it like another, say, inch or 2 of sawdust on top of that. And you'll find that the willow tree will be very happy. Any grasses that are out there will be incredibly happy, things of that nature. And so, all right, there you go. This is a system that we call it the Willow Feeder system. Nothing goes to a sewage treatment plant, and nothing more will go to your pit that you have below the house. Everything instead will be transformed into giant willow trees. That's what I propose, and I believe that this design is better for the environment than a sewage treatment plant. It's cleaner, it's safer. It has less pathogen vectors than a sewage treatment plant, while simultaneously being so much better for the environment. And unlike most of the alternatives to a sewage treatment plant, this will scale. And I like to think that this is so much better than a sewage treatment plant that regulators will, in time, reward willow feeders. So, encourage people to do it. The other thing is that the expense of connecting, of getting all your stuff hooked up to the sewage treatment plant, I'm going to guess is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 or more.
Actually, it's $40,000 because the city of Portland. Oops.
Go!
Well, the cat's out of the bag. It's a very, very, it's 20 grand just as a connection fee. That's without any construction, nothing. Just that.
Okay, so, I could be mistaken, but I think that if you paid somebody to do all the things I just described, I would imagine it would come in a lot less than that.
I think so too. I have a couple questions for you. I'll start with the fact that we depaved our driveway, and we have on the east side of the property. Can we look at that map again quickly? The east side of our property, there's a depaved driveway, and along that driveway, I have planted some willows. I have a whole little row of willow trees already planted. Yes, on the east side, so that strip just on the right, that's our driveway. And I have a row of willow trees that I've planted. I just planted them for privacy screen and basket materials and stuff like this. And they're pretty mature at this point. And the driveway is just basically mulch. I mean, it's wood chips because we depaved it. It's all, it says wood chips and plants at this point. And we don't use it very much. We don't actually walk there hardly at all. So I'm wondering about implementing this, the willow feeder system, if we can work with these existing plants that are already here. I feel like the location would really be ideal in terms of not disrupting the flow of our backyard situation. And that would be a great location. So, the trees, again, they're kind of, I guess I don't really have a cursor way to point, but they're pretty much in a line, just to the right of the main house itself on the edge. They're kind of planted as a kind of a living fence type situation on the edge of the driveway, which has been depaved. So that's just one thought, and again, the idea would be digging into that area and then maybe disturbing the roots of the willows a little bit in the process, and what you think about that. Because again, I'm just literally looking out the window at these willows and thinking, oh yeah, that would be a great location for the gray water mulch pit. And, just wondering what you think about that. That's one of my, I don't know if I should list my questions all first, or should we just do one at a time here?
I think, yes. I'm glad we had this chat. So working with established willow trees sounds far better to me than getting some willow trees started, because while you create the pit, it is plausible that you're going to disturb some of the roots as you're doing this. And willow trees are kind of weird about that. They're going to be like, well, I'll show you. I'm going to make some more willow trees, and then you just try to cope. And it's like, so it'll all work out. It'll be terrific.
Okay.
I think that's a really good idea.
It's really, and again, the location feels for this, if we were going to implement the system and have the mulch pit there, that looks great. Cool. Well, that's good to know. My other question, is about the black material, or like you said, the poop.
Willow candy.
Willow candy. I like the name. So you said that the indoor system works with these cans. Is the can something that just lives in your bathroom itself, and then you move them they're larger, hard to move things, and then it's kind of like 4 times a year you move it out into like another area for composting, and then I'm just thinking about trying to visualize the size. It's that. Aha.
Yeah, it's a 32. We have standardized on a 32-gallon brute can. I wish we had something that wasn't plastic, but we haven't figured that. We haven't solved that yet. But the key is that you're probably gonna every 3 months you're gonna need to do what we do, which is it's full enough. We're gonna put a bunch of sawdust on the top, and then you need to take it outside, and it needs to stay outside for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And then once it's hits that time, and then in the spring it could be put at the foot of a willow tree.
Yeah.
And so.
But the brute can is this like, are you pooping into a bucket and then transferring the bucket to the brute can, or is the brute can
Never.
actually in? Okay, I see. Okay,
yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
So the brute can
here
is actually.
You can see an image. Whoop! I moved on to another. If we can go back. There it is. On the left side.
Yes.
In this image, you can see our indoor willow feeder.
Okay.
So it sits up higher.
Yes.
A place to put your feet.
Okay.
And the idea is that can with several people, with 5 people, I think it'll take it about 3 or 4 months until the can will need to be pulled out.
Okay.
And what will happen is that there is some degree of composting that's happening. And basically our particular system, we wish for it to not compost. We want to do our best we want to keep it aerobic. And if there's going to be a little bit of composting, we will accept that.
Oh, there we go. That's what I want to look at. Okay.
And so, but for the most part, as gardeners, we want to try to keep as much of that material around, so that way we can have a bigger willow tree. We can make the willow tree happy. Some people use these systems, and then they do something with the willow candy, so that way they don't have to empty it as often. And I'm going to stay out of that. They want to do that. That's up to them. What I'm trying to do is to develop a system that is dramatically superior to a sewage treatment plant. And so something that scales for a large city. And so that's what I'm working on. And that's what this system is attempting to be.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
And the indoor, there's not really a big difference between the indoor and outdoor system, except for the outdoor system is going to be in an outhouse, because that was another thing, is that we do have, although we're a small community, i.e. like 5 artists and musicians living in a small house in our urban homestead, we host events, we host pizza parties, and sometimes we have up to 60 folks. They're not all pooping necessarily, but we'll have a really like an influx. We'll have periodic influxes of large. We'll have house show or a workshop or a pizza party, and there'll be lots of folks, and that's where kind of an outdoor, makes sense. Also, we have some kind of what they call it, accessory dwelling unit type places where there's no plumbing or bathroom for some of the folks living out there. They might also like an outhouse kind of. So I do want to build an outhouse as well. That's very cool. Look at this cool graphic. I want to build an outhouse too, and I'm just wondering if the kind of layout and system is pretty similar for indoor and outdoor, without minus the plumbing to the urine diverter and plumbing to the mulch field.
So, Andreas, can you bring up an image of Willow Wonka? So here we have our outdoor willow feeder, and the cans are still the same size, but we have a little platform that you can walk onto up there, so it feels the same as a standard toilet. And this is entirely outdoors, and we're in Montana, which is a bit colder. And so I suspect that nearly everybody watching this is thinking like, oh, then you would use this just in the summer. And I need to point out that we have some sturdy folk that choose to contribute in the winter, even on a pretty cold day. But I think when it gets really cold, I suspect those people are like, I'm going indoors. But there have been some people proud of how they were able to use this in the winter. All right, so it can be done.
And the urine diverter in this case, do you have another mulch pit for it?
We have another mulch pit. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And we have little baby willow trees with it, and so they're coming up to speed and stuff like that. So is that for air? What is that? Or is that where the urine is going? That pipe there that we're looking at? I think I'm gonna guess that pipe right there is for the sink.
There's
also
a sink.
Gray water, but I'd have to go look at it to be sure if it's. But it could potentially also be the urine diverter, so the urine.
Okay. Oh, nice. Very cool.
All right.
Okay.
So,
looking good.
And we have events where we have more than 50 people here, and we have 2 outdoor willow feeders that they can use, and we have the house that they can go to if they want. And
right.
So, and it seems to be enough. Because like you pointed out, people tend to not be synchronized poopers. They're not like, we're all going to poop at the same time. And it's like it's spread out over the day, and it turns out to be like not a big deal. I think we've had some people suggest that we make another willow feeder and put it up on the far end of our property where a lot of people like to put their tents. And it's like, it's a thought, and we haven't gotten around to it yet. But we might someday do that. So, all right, let's now circle back to your situation. I have made a suggestion, and the beautiful thing about the suggestion is that, or at least one of the beautiful things is that it's so much less expensive than the conventional route, hooking up to the sewage treatment plant. I choose to believe that what I've suggested is far superior to what you would get with a sewage treatment plant. I have yet to be able to hear an argument about how it's not. So from anybody where we've presented this idea. So I think it's pretty rock solid. But perhaps you have an idea of something else that you were thinking of, and I can poop on that idea.
I was going to maybe ask if JB wants to talk a little bit. He just muted himself, but because JB and I were discussing some different options and ideas, and I thought, because he's jumping in on this call and because I'm hoping he's going to be available to help with this project, that he could give some of his experience and feedback and thoughts about, because he's familiar also with my specific house and my situation, and we've been working together a long time. And yeah, I would love to hear if JB, you're open to asking some questions or talking about some thoughts you might have about a system that would work here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed it. We spoke more upon like having a smaller bucket that would get emptied frequently into a larger bucket. But I definitely like this idea. I think sometimes an urban home, I mean, I guess your bathroom there that you had photos of is just an urban home sized bathroom. So I guess it's the user case use of, do you want to drag a 32 gallon brute bucket through? Is there a problem with taking 5 gallon buckets out to a bucket outside, and dumping them in?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So first of all,
you said no, you don't do that, but is there a problem with it and you just don't do it?
All right. So the human manure system is a popular system, and it features a 5 gallon bucket. And so you'll have this 5 gallon bucket. So the level that you sit at is easier, right? It's more conventional. But this 5 gallon bucket in the human manure systems for one person generally needs to be emptied twice a week. Yeah. And so, now I don't know if you've ever done that, but,
I have, and it increases the contact points many more times. And so I just why you don't want.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now, let's assume that there's a pathogen in there that you don't want to be in contact with.
Right.
And so there probably isn't, because it's just just one person. But if you've got 5 people, and let's say one of them has an illness that they have managed to hide from you, and you could get it from that material, suddenly it's a thing, right? It's something that is a concern now. And you don't even know that you should be concerned because this person has been so discreet about it and you don't know. And part of it is you don't want to go and grill everybody. Hey, do you got some kind of illness that you're hiding from the rest of us because it could make us sick? I think you don't want to ever have that conversation. And so it's okay, let's go.
And the elephant in the room for me is just the challenges of living in community with a bunch of crazy musicians and artists and trying to make sure people are accountable, especially where there's a learning curve around dealing with let's call it candy. Dealing with your candy. Most of us are not used to that. I have lived off grid for periods of time and used these systems before, but some of my community, my housemates, while they're aligned with some of the principles of permaculture, they're not necessarily permies in the sense they're artists, musicians, and, getting folks to really be on board with regular gardening and cleaning the house is enough of a challenge. And one of my main concerns about a human manure system is maintenance. And so I feel what Paul is proposing is a lot more, even though schlepping the poop-laden 30-gallon, that feels awkward for sure, but if it only happens 4 times a year, then it's probably a better way to go than trying to rely on people to follow through with emptying a bucket regularly, because I feel like I'm going to be the one. I would rather be the one to do it 4 times a year and just kind of get a crew together and be all right, today's the day, we're going to move this thing out of here. And then, just trying to be on top of everybody on a, basically daily basis. It's your turn to take the poop bucket out and blah, blah, blah. Because I'm going to be doing it, or me and my husband will be the ones doing it. And, I just don't want to, I don't want to have to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it presents better to the authorities to have less contact. So I can see why just doing the larger bucket. I mean, if I was doing an outdoor one, you would just use a 50-gallon drum or whatever you could move around feasibly, 32 gallons, 50 gallons. So it makes sense. And 32-gallon brute thing, it isn't going to get that heavy. Full.
Right. It's not going to be that heavy because we're diverting the urine, so it's going to be relatively dry. It won't be dry, but it'll be dry-ish. And so it won't be as heavy. But we usually find one person can oftentimes do the grunty work. Maybe the help of a hand truck would be nice. But a lot of times, 2 people make it easy. And so, but now I'm going to go back about 6 minutes to what I was starting to say. And I think it's a very, very important part of all this. If somebody in your house is ill and you don't want to have that conversation with them, you need to design a system that's going to be able to keep everybody safe despite that one secret illness. Because not only, so like let's allow that person to have their secrets. And then we just are going to design a system so well that they can keep their secret. It's not going to impact us. But yes, if you're using a 5-gallon bucket, the vector factor is more substantial. Because while you're not exactly coming into contact with the material, you kind of are a little bit. Now, with the 32-gallon container, when you start to get within 5 inches of the top, we say that before you even touch the container, you then add 3 inches of sawdust on top. That would be hard to do with the 5-gallon bucket. And then on top of that, with the humanure system, that's not generally suggested. Instead, you take the bucket, which is generally full to the top because people have optimized how long they can wait until it's emptied. And then they take it outside and then they put it in a pile. Now, granted, you've not suggested doing that. I'm just saying that it's, for the humanure system, that's the system. But the delightful thing is that a 5-gallon bucket is, of course, a lot lighter than a 32-gallon bucket. Now, the great thing about the 32-gallon can is that the material tends to decompose in place rather substantially. And so the reason why it takes months to fill up is that the material keeps getting put in and it continues to shrink over the months as more material is added to the top. And so it just keeps breaking down and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And so it makes it so it's a much longer time. So a person could try to math it out and say, why does a 5-gallon bucket need to be swapped out every, twice a week? Or even if it was like once a week, and this is a 32-gallon container, wouldn't this mean that you're going to have to swap it out in 6.5 weeks or something? And it's like, no, that's because it does break down and shrink a lot over those 6 weeks. And now there's more room in the 32-gallon bucket to accept more. And you can just keep putting more and more and more in. So our experience is 3 to 4 months until we need to swap it out. So that's kind of...
You are layering wood shavings or sawdust on top every time, right? That's the standard humanure situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. And so that's what you could, if you wanted to, you could do wood ash, but my guess is that if you're urban, you probably don't have a lot of wood ash.
We do. We actually have we have our rocket stoves, and we actually heat our house with a masonry heater, and we're kind of like I said, we're really kind of off the grid, on the grid. So
okay.
we have it, but or we could I have a friend who's a wood turner, and he has he's our neighbor, and he has giant quantities of wood shavings as well, so we could kind of mix it up. Or coffee hulls, I don't know. There's all types of material around.
We have lots of wood ash and we have lots of wood chips and sawdust. I think sawdust is the best. And so, but I do want to emphasize to anybody listening to this, don't mix the two. Don't do like wood chips or sawdust and mix in wood ash. Don't mix them. Pick one or the other. And I personally choose the sawdust and wood chips. All right. So, I think so you thought about a 5-gallon bucket approach at one point in time. I hope I've talked you out of that. Have I? Okay. All right. Okay. Are there any other ideas that you were considering that I could poop on?
I'm actually just curious why mixing wood ash and sawdust is a problem. It's a different type of environment that it's breaking down in, and it kind of cancels itself out, or what?
Do you know how to make lye?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Tell me.
Boiling ash, it concentrates it into a...
Or fermenting water.
Yeah.
Generally, it's a mix of wood ash and straw and water.
Mm.
Right.
And then so straw is a high carbon material, and so is the wood chips or sawdust. And so basically, if you're going to use wood ash and sawdust together, and then you're going to add some moisture to it, you're effectively going to be dabbling a little bit in the space of making lye. And now you have poisons mixed into your willow candy, and later you're thinking about feeding that to your willow trees. I don't think I would rather not feed lye to my willow trees.
Right. That's very caustic and terrible. Yes. Okay. I was just curious about that. That makes all the sense now that you explain it. Let's see. I guess, I wanted to pick your brain because I hadn't had any specific system ideas, and I'm trying to visualize this idea and think about if there's any other questions. I am really also intrigued with the gray water mulch pit idea, and I think we could hopefully, without too much trouble, get everything routed to, I guess one of the things about gray water systems is getting the water uphill, or like up, like from the basement up to the level of or how do you?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
What?
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a gray water situation. Yeah, I have to think about that. That's kind of a challenge.
A lot of people with septic tanks, I mean, they've got pumps that do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's possible that there's a solution for that is outside of what for me, I'm thinking okay, I don't have any structures with basements, and my mulch pits are outdoors, and they are always downhill of whatever it is, any of my drains.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's elegant, but I mean, I guess I suppose I could just have everything above on the first level be going into the mulch pit, and then the basement level could potentially continue to just drain into the cesspool if it was just, laundry or something. I don't know.
I mean, they do make little pump boxes oftentimes in Oregon in the basement, and there's you basically, I mean, usually just your laundry goes to it, not your plumb, not anything that comes out of your body,
right?
Or maybe some hand washing material, and then it will just pump it out.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
We can look into that. JB, do you have any other ideas about the humanure kind of stuff, or, anything for Paul, or questions about his system that might be helpful if we were looking at designing and implementing that here?
No, I think it's a good system. I don't know that there is anything better than the plastic 32-gallon size containers. So
I wish we could come up with something better in that space. I do think I want to respect Joseph Jenkins, the creator of the Humanure Handbook. I mean, I feel like our Willow Feeder system it wouldn't exist without the Joseph Jenkins and the amazing research that he did in the Humanure book. I just kind of feel like our stuff is built on top of his stuff. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm just bashing Joseph Jenkins. I want to make it clear that we are respecting his work and trying to take it to what I believe is the next level, the next thing beyond it. And I also want to point out that the Willow Feeder system is something we've been working on for 12 years. The idea actually came up with 14 years ago, and we've been having to refine it. And now we think we've got it working very reliably. And so it's time to start sharing our results. So we just started sharing results a few months ago.
That's exciting. I mean, go ahead.
That's great. I totally understand. Like, I would like to sway away from the 5-gallon bucket all day long. And, here it's a little warm enough that you can do these systems outside pretty much year round. There's a couple months where you're a little chilly, but you would usually go to a 50-gallon drum and just move it with a dolly. And I mean, what would be your ideal, this isn't about size, bucket, because the bigger bucket's great. What is your ideal 32-gallon container that you would prefer to have over plastic? Would it be metal? Would it be, obviously not something that decomposes, because that's kind of risky. So what, if you could do better than plastic with your imagination, what would that be, Paul?
Boy, that is tough. And one of the great things about releasing this system and getting it out there is that we feel like there's room for optimization. And when we get more people involved, more engineers, more great minds, then we'll start to get people trying other things, and we can have things that we can learn about. I know, like, for example, our urine diverters still need optimization, and but we're getting good results despite that. But as for a can that's not plastic, naturally, I would like something that we could make with the materials that we have here. And so what would that be? And I kind of feel like, well, there used to be such a thing as wooden barrels that were about this size, but boy, they would be there. I mean, when a wooden barrel is empty, it is ridiculously heavy. And so, it's like, oh, that sounds like it's got challenge written all over it. And, so what else is there? And, I don't really have a good answer. I mean, we could talk about, some stainless steel barrels. That might be a step in the right direction. I know a guy that makes stainless steel barrels, and so maybe I should talk to him about, like, 32-gallon barrels. And, that might not be a bad idea. Especially if we can get something rather than having the straight sides, if it could have a little bit of a tapered side to it. But because then, if anything, if the contents were to freeze, then the contents would just go up. Whereas if you've got, straight sides and the contents were to freeze, it might try to force the barrel to have a new shape. But I kind of feel like that, because a stainless steel barrel's pretty light. And it's going to last a long time. And it's not plastic. And so maybe So you're asking me like, what would be my dream material? And it's like, preferably something I can build with the rocks and mud and sticks that I have here on hand, but nothing comes to mind that really works there. So it's like, okay, well, because when we build rocket mass heaters, there are parts of rocket mass heaters that it's like, okay, we need something that's insulative and can tolerate more than 2,000 degrees. And it's kind of like, I looked out in the woods, I didn't find anything. So it's like, I guess we're going to use something manufactured. And along the way, hey, in fact, you guys heat with a rocket mass heater built by Ernie and Erica or guided by Ernie?
Well, we have an outbuilding that has a bed, a rocket mass heater bed that Ernie and Erica, we built with them back in 2013 or 14. It was a long time ago. And then we have our music area, kind of like a converted garage that we insulated with straw clay, has a like nice big one that we built with Bernard Masterson. And then we have but in the main house we have I call it the Cadillac super fancy Thule Kiwi. So we have the really nice fancy Cadillac stove. I had a similar situation come up for myself as a homeowner in an urban area where my central heating furnace crapped out, and instead of spending all the money on getting a new furnace, I decided to spend it on a Thule Kiwi, which I am really happy with. It burns really clean and heats the whole house. It's just so lovely to have that. I mean, it's just the nicest heat around. I love it so much. But yeah, it's actually very similar to your situation.
It's a Russian mass heater.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I can, here, I'll show it to you. Right here. It's a masonry, it's a masonry stove, but it's kind of a.
Wow. It's big.
It's big. Yeah, it has a big, I mean, and we have a small house, but it's really it's really nice. And it's just so, in the winter, it's just so amazing. It really it does a great job heating our entire home and keeping it warm. And, because it's not too terribly cold here where we live, it's just lovely. And we don't have any other type of heat in our home. So, but it was our system failed, and we made a decision to do something different and more sustainable. And, so this is kind of another iteration of that here, where we have a failing septic system that we're looking at doing something different and more in alignment with our values. I mean, coming back to where we started talking about, yes, like saving money, but it's really at the end of the day about aligning with values. And as someone who's, lucky to live in the Pacific Northwest, where we do have a lot of rain, it's still getting drier, and I don't think it's gonna get less dry anytime soon. And I just have always felt like I wanted to respect our precious water and treat it better. And by pooping in it is it's not the way to go. And it's not what I want to do. It's not aligned with my personal value system. And so I feel like it's more of an opportunity. The crisis is an opportunity for me to take that step to invest in a system that aligns with my values. And this is looking like it. And I will say again, I really do feel good about this Willow Feeder system, especially with the larger can. I mean, I think it is going to be a challenge in terms of the size of our bathroom. Our bathroom is quite, won't say it's cramped. It's very small. We saw those photos. It's a small bathroom. And so trying to figure out how to situate the commode in a way that feels like it's not, you're going to show the pictures of the bathroom. Yeah. I mean, it's like 50 by 60 inches, it's a comfortable size with what's happening now, but, we're going to have to do some designing. And I feel good about that. And I'm also, thinking about designing how that urine diverter is going to be, that'll be a plumbing challenge to figure out how to connect the urine diverter possibly with whatever is coming out of the shower and the sink to go out to the mulch pit. But that will all be part of the fun.
This podcast is continued in part 2.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. permies.com/consult.